When did staying silent make you part of the problem? I hated my older sister for my entire life, and only stopped when it was too late. I grew up as the middle child, with a sister who was 2 years younger than me, and a sister a year older called Tammy. Tammy was the type of sister to make sure we all got an equal amount of time playing Subway Surfers on the family iPad. But when I turned 7 years old, something changed. Our parents lost their business to bankruptcy, and my dad became angrier. Like, a lot angrier. He went from drinking with his friends once a week to almost every day in the living room. Tammy would try to protect us and tell us that his violence towards her was just him getting passionate from the NBA games. And whenever our younger sister Rosie started crying, Tammy would grab her head and hold her until she was okay again. All of this just made me hate her even more, because whenever mom caught her doing that, she would point and laugh. "You effing idiot! You're only making her weaker!" she'd exclaim while mimicking her crying sounds. And instead of listening to what mom said, Tammy simply shifted to comforting her in private. At the time, all I saw was an older sister, someone who was supposed to be a role model, breaking our parents' rules. So instead of blaming our parents for being abusive, I blamed Tammy. It was just easier that way. Another time, Dad got an email that Rosie was caught talking in class. I still remember my dad's face as he walked into our playroom with a black whip in his hand. I coped in the only way I could, plastering on a boyish smile and exclaiming, "Hello, Daddy," at the top of my lungs, pretending nothing could affect me. Meanwhile, Tammy ran to wrap her tiny arms around Rosie, trying her best to use her underweight body as a human shield. This made my dad even angrier, so much so that he had forgotten he was there to punish Rosie and hit Tammy instead. I just rolled my eyes. And the next morning, our mom gave out to us about Dad's throat hurting from shouting so much. Said it was all Tammy's fault, and she's a disgrace. I nodded my head in agreement. "Yeah, Tammy, why are you always dragging the family down?" Meanwhile, Rosie just stayed silent and stared at the carpet. But whenever my parents were in a good mood, they treated Tammy like she was their princess. Tell her that they loved her more than anything. But their good moods were always ticking time bombs. It was like some sort of messed up game. If you chose the wrong sentence to say, you could be the reason that mom or dad became violent again. So there we were, sitting around the table at the Olive Garden, when my mom asked who we think the nicest person in the house is. Rosie spoke first. "I think it's Tammy, but no one appreciates her." I cringed and just said nothing. My parents started arguing against why it was Tammy, and Tammy changed the subject instantly, in the way that only she knew how to do. Everything was fine until we went home. I was sitting beside Tammy when we heard our mom bitching about her. "So Rosie really thinks that selfish Betch is the nicest in the family." My dad chimed in, "I'll show them who really runs this family. Get Tammy down here now." I glanced over to see her silently crying. I pushed away the guilt I felt and just shrugged. After all, she was the oldest, so this was her role in the family, right? But as I heard her crying and pleading with them to leave her alone, something in me finally snapped. There was no effing way this was normal, but I didn't trust CPS, so instead I called my uncle. I didn't know what to say, but as I spoke, he heard the violence in the background and asked me where I was. 20 minutes later, the front door burst open, and he demanded my parents to show him where Tammy was. But when he asked what was wrong, she just laughed. "Oh, nothing. All of my friends think my parents are abusing me, but I just had a bad game of rugby." Her tone was so convincing it broke my heart. She didn't even play rugby, but still, my uncle bought it. As soon as he left, my parents asked me why the F I called him. Suddenly, Tammy burst into the room. "I was the one who told him. I'm sorry." Before I knew what was happening, they were wailing on her all over again. After that, we all gave up on being a family. The house was completely silent, but not in a peaceful way. It was more like in a North Korea sort of way. Tammy moved out for college, and Rosie just stayed in her room and spent her free time watching BoJack Horseman, or Anne with an E. Meanwhile, I spent all my time focusing on school. I guess I never realized how much Tammy was helping Rosie, because a few months later, I walked into her room, and what I saw made my stomach drop. She was lying lifeless on her bed because she had pulled a Hannah Baker. Full story on channel, link below.